You know that feeling, right? You open up a quality report, and it's just this wall of numbers and acronyms. It's supposed to be helpful, but honestly, sometimes it just leaves you feeling more confused. Well, we're going to change that today. We're going to break down the key terms you actually need to know so you can turn all that data into a powerful tool for improvement. So, let's dive right in. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to find our bearings with your internal compass. Then we'll get into decoding what all the little ups and downs in your data actually mean. After that, we'll look outside our own walls, see how we stack up against the rest of the world, make sure everyone's playing by the same rules, and then we'll put it all together. The goal? Making decisions that are actually driven by data. And it's a totally fair question, isn't it? I think it's a frustration so many of us in healthcare have felt. I mean, these reports, they're supposed to guide us, but half the time they just feel like this impossible puzzle. My promise to you is that by the end of this, you're going to have the key to unlock that puzzle. You'll be able to look at these reports with real confidence. Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute most fundamental piece of your report. You gotta start here. Think of the mean as your North Star. It's the one thing you need to get your bearings before you can navigate anywhere else. So what exactly is the mean? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's your average, your baseline. It's what's considered normal for your organization, calculated from your own past data, usually from the last year or so. And that's the key thing here. This isn't about looking at anyone else. Not yet. This is all about understanding what's normal for you. Now, this is where context becomes absolutely critical, because for a lot of what we measure, things like patient falls or pressure injuries, lower is better, right? So if you look at your report and your current number is below your mean, that's a good thing. That's a check mark. It means you're improving. But if your number creeps above that mean, well, that's your warning sign. That's a little flag telling you that performance might be slipping. So at the end of the day, the mean answers one simple but really powerful question. It helps you cut through all the noise and just ask, are we doing better than we used to? It's your history telling you if you're on the right track. All right, so we've got our baseline, our mean. That's great. But we all know that performance isn't a flat line, right? It goes up, it goes down. So how do you know if a sudden spike in your numbers is just, a random bad day, or if it's a sign of a real underlying problem? That's exactly where the upper control limit, or UCL, comes into play. Okay, so the UCL is a threshold that's calculated using statistics. And here's the number one mistake people make, so I really want to be clear on this. The UCL is not a goal. It is not a target you're trying to stay under. Think of it more like an electric fence. Its only job is to give you a jolt when you cross it, to let you know you've wandered into territory that is statistically weird. So if you see a data point that actually goes above the UCL, that's it. That's your big red flag. The report is practically screaming at you, whoa, this isn't just a random blip. Something unusual happened here. And that's your signal. It's not time to panic. It's time to investigate. It's your cue to start digging and figure out the why behind that number. This is the critical job of the UCL. It helps you separate the noise from the signal. Is this change just random static that you'd expect in any busy hospital? Or is it a clear signal that there might be a bigger system-level problem that really needs your attention? Okay, so you've got a handle on your own performance. You know your mean, you know when a variation is a red flag. The very next question everyone asks is, yeah, but how are we doing compared to everybody else? And that's where we pivot. We're going to shift from looking inward with our internal compass to looking outward at the wider world of external benchmarks. A benchmark is basically your window to the outside world. It gives you some much-needed context. But, and this is super important, the goal is not to just blindly chase someone else's number. The point is to use that external view to help you focus on improving your own performance, your own internal me. So where does this data even come from? Well, one of the biggest players in this space is the NDQI, the National Database of Nursing Quality Indicators. It's this huge database that collects data from literally thousands of hospitals. What it does is provide these really solid international benchmark ranges that are even broken down by things like unit type. It's a massive deal in the healthcare world, especially for any hospital going for magnet status. But think about it. For any of this comparison stuff to be fair, you have to be sure everyone is measuring the exact same thing in the exact same way, right? You got to compare apples to apples. And that brings us to the official rulebook, which is set by the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. You'll see it as AHRQ. And the difference between these two is super simple, but it's really crucial. The easiest way to think about it is this. AHR2 writes the rulebook. They set the standards. They're the ones who define exactly what legally counts as a patient fall. Then you have NDNQI, which is like the league scorekeeper. They take that rulebook, collect all the data from everyone playing the game, and publish the league tables. Those are your benchmarks. You absolutely need both to make sense of anything. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, but look at what we have now. We've got our internal compass, which is the mean. We've got our red flag system, the UCL. We have our external comparison with benchmarks, and we have the rulebook from AHRQ. So now let's put it all together and see how this becomes a real toolkit for making things better. This is a great little cheat sheet to pull it all together. Your mean, that's you versus you. Your UCL, that's your alarm bell for when something's really off. The benchmark, that's you versus the world. And NDNQI and AHRQ, they're the sources. One gives you the data, the other gives you the rules. See how they all fit? And honestly, this right here might be the single most important idea in this whole explainer. If you forget everything else, please remember this. Quality improvement is not about chasing numbers. What it is about is this. It's about really understanding your own performance over time. It's about knowing how to interpret your data correctly, with all the right context. And at the end of the day, it's about using all that knowledge to make smart, evidence-based decisions that actually improve patient care. That's the whole point. That's the real game we're playing. So I'm going to leave you with a question to take back to your unit, to your next meeting. Now that you have these tools, now that you can decode that report, what are you going to do with it? Is that data just going to keep filling up a page in a binder somewhere? Or are you going to use it to drive real, meaningful action and change the way you care for your patients starting tomorrow?